Saturday morning, blueberries popping on the griddle, maple syrup warming in the pot. Tommy at the kitchen table, building his Lego fort, humming that tune from his cartoon. Morning sun through the lace curtains my first wife picked out, dust motes dancing like they always do. 23 years I've been making these pancakes, every Saturday, rain or shine. Daddy? Tommy looked up, 7 years old with his mother's eyes. Should I tell you about last night? The spatula froze in my hand. Melissa, my wife, went white, then red. Then she forced out a laugh that sounded like glass breaking. Tommy, honey, we talked about this. But Mommy, you said, Ray. Her voice cut sharp. Don't you dare interrogate our son. I stood there, batter dripping onto the burner, watching something crack open that I'd been trying not to see for months. What happened last night? I asked, but she was already gone. Door slammed. Tommy wouldn't look at me. That was only the beginning. I stood there in my own kitchen, syrup dripping onto the floor, feeling like a fool. Tommy pushed his Legos around without building anything. His shoulders were up near his ears the way they get when he's scared. 7 years old. My boy shouldn't be scared in his own house. Buddy. I turned off the burner, crouched down beside his chair. You're not in trouble. I just want to understand. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Mommy said I wasn't supposed to tell. Tell what? The secrets, the grown-up games. My chest tightened. What kind of games? I don't know. She said, his voice got real small. She said you'd be mad at me if I told. I pulled him into a hug, felt him shaking. I could never be mad at you for telling me the truth. Never. You understand? He nodded against my shoulder, but I could feel it. The weight of something he was carrying that no child should have to carry. Melissa came home 3 hours later. Yoga mat under her arm, hair perfect, smelling like expensive perfume instead of sweat. We need to talk, I said. She didn't even look at me, just walked past, headed for the bedroom. I'm not doing this, Ray. Doing what? Having a conversation with your husband? She spun around. You're trying to poison him against me. That's what you're doing. I asked our son a question. You interrogated him. Her voice went high and sharp. You can't stand that I have my own life, that I'm not just sitting around waiting for you to notice me. You're jealous, you're controlling, She stopped, breathing hard. You're a paranoid old man. The words hit like a slap. Old man. I'm 62. She's 42. 20 years between us. And I never thought it mattered until right then. I'm not paranoid, I said quiet. I'm trying to understand why my wife storms out when our son mentions last night. There's nothing to understand. I had friends over for wine. Tommy saw us laughing, thought it was interesting. That's it. But you turn everything into some kind of conspiracy. She said it so smooth, so reasonable, like I was the crazy one. What friends? Book club. On a Saturday? We rescheduled. She crossed her arms. Why are you doing this? Why can't you just trust me? And there it was, the switch. Suddenly I was the bad guy. Suddenly I was the one who needed to explain myself. I do trust you, I heard myself say, hating how weak it sounded. Then stop interrogating me like I'm a criminal. She softened her voice, reached out to touch my arm. Ray, honey, I love you. But you've been so distant lately, so suspicious. It's like you're looking for reasons to doubt me. Was I? Had I been distant? I worked long hours, came home tired. Maybe I hadn't been paying attention. Maybe... I'm sorry, I said. She smiled, kissed my cheek. I know you are. Now I'm going to take a shower. Why don't you finish those pancakes for Tommy? She left me standing there, and I should have felt better. She'd explained. She'd been reasonable. So why did my stomach still feel like I'd swallowed rocks? That night I got up for water, passed through the kitchen, saw Melissa's purse on the counter. She never left her purse out. Never. And there, charging on the counter, was a phone I'd never seen before. Pink case with "Girls just want to have fun" written in sparkly letters. My wife is 42 years old. I didn't touch it, didn't pick it up, just stood there watching the screen glow in the dark, notifications lighting up every few minutes. Someone was texting her. At 2 in the morning. Someone who knew she had this phone, this secret phone. I went back to bed, lay there staring at the ceiling while Melissa slept beside me, her breathing deep and steady. The yoga mat in the corner had dust on it. I could see it in the moonlight coming through the window, dust. Like it hadn't been used in weeks, but she went to yoga every Tuesday and Thursday, sometimes Saturdays, always came home in her workout clothes, always had that story about the instructor or the pose that was hard or the friend who said something funny. I thought about Tommy's question, about the new phone, about book club on a Saturday, about my wife calling me paranoid when I asked a simple question, about the way she'd turned it around, made me apologize, made me the villain in my own house. And I thought, how long has this been going on? But I didn't have an answer, didn't want an answer, because having an answer would mean I'd have to do something about it. And I've never been good at confrontation, always been the type to keep the peace, smooth things over, give people the benefit of the doubt. My grandfather used to say that's what made me a good man. Lying there in the dark, I wondered if maybe it just made me a fool. Monday evening, Melissa came home early with a pot roast, my favorite, the one her mother taught her how to make with the carrots and potatoes and that gravy I could eat with a spoon. She'd even picked up fresh rolls from the bakery. Peace offering, she said, setting the dish on the table. I know I overreacted Saturday. I've just been stressed about Mom's health, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry. Her mother. I'd forgotten to ask about her mother. What kind of husband forgets that? How is she doing? I asked. Better. The doctor adjusted her medication. Melissa smiled, kissed my forehead. Come on, let's eat before it gets cold. We sat on the porch swing after dinner, Tommy inside watching his show, me and Melissa in the cooling evening air. She rested her head on my shoulder like she used to when we were first married, before life got complicated. The swing chain squeaked. Needed WD-40. I kept meaning to fix it, but there was something comforting about that sound, like it had been squeaking so long it was part of the house's voice. I love you, she said quiet. You know that, right? I know. I'm sorry I've been distant. I'm going to do better. And God help me. I wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe the pot roast and the apology and the head on my shoulder. Wanted it so bad my chest ached. That night we made love for the first time in months. After, I lay awake watching her sleep, trying to ignore the new phone on her nightstand, the one that kept buzzing with notifications even though she'd turned off the sound. Maybe I should let it go. Maybe I was looking for problems where there weren't any. Maybe. Thursday, I left work early. Came down with something, fever, chills, that flu that's been going around. Boss sent me home at noon, told me to rest up. I pulled into my driveway at 1:30 in the afternoon and saw a car I didn't recognize. Silver Lexus, new, with a bumper sticker that said, Live Laugh Lift in purple letters. The front door was unlocked. I stood in my own hallway, listening, heard laughter from upstairs. Deep male laughter mixed with Melissa's, that high, girlish laugh she does when she's flirting, the one I haven't heard in years. My hands started shaking. I climbed the stairs, 12 steps. I counted every one, my work boots heavy on the wood, making noise on purpose, giving them warning, giving them a chance to, what, pretend? The bedroom door was half open. Derek Cole was wearing my bathrobe, the blue one Tommy gave me for Father's Day 3 years ago, the one with World's Best Dad embroidered on the pocket. He was younger than me by near 30 years. Fit. Tattoos down both arms. The kind of guy who calls older men chief with a smirk. Melissa was sitting on our bed in her underwear, laughing at something he'd said. Then she saw me. The laugh cut off. Her face went through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, fear, anger, calculation. Not guilt, that wasn't one of them. Ray, she stood up, grabbed for her robe. You weren't supposed to be home. Not, I'm sorry. Not, this isn't what it looks like. Just, you weren't supposed to be home. Like the problem was my timing, not the half-naked man in my bathrobe standing in my bedroom. Derek had the decency to look uncomfortable. Started pulling on his jeans, wouldn't meet my eyes. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Just stood there tasting copper in my mouth, feeling my heart hammer against my ribs like it was trying to escape. Chief, look, Derek started. Get out. My voice came out wrong, too quiet, too steady. Get out of my house. He grabbed his shirt, his shoes, moved past me in the doorway. I could smell his cologne, something sharp and expensive that made my eyes water, his footsteps on the stairs, the front door opening, that Lexus engine starting up, pulling away. Melissa stood there in her robe, arms crossed. We need to talk. Talk. I heard myself laugh, a sound like breaking glass. You want to talk. It's not what you think. I think my wife is having an affair with a man young enough to be her son. I think he was wearing the bathrobe my boy gave me. I think— My voice cracked. I think I'm standing in my own bedroom feeling like a stranger. You don't understand. Then help me understand. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said the thing that broke something inside me I didn't know could break. When's the last time you made me feel young, Ray? When's the last time you made me feel anything? I built this house with my own hands. Every board, every nail. Wired it myself. Laid the floors myself. This bedroom. I painted these walls the color she wanted. Sage green. She said it was calming. I stood in that calm green room and felt my whole life tilt sideways. Pack your things, I said. Guest room. Tonight. Ray. Tonight. I walked out, went downstairs. Tommy was in the living room, cartoons playing, oblivious. I sat on the couch beside him, pulled him close, breathed in the kid smell of him. Bubblegum and grass and innocence. Love you, buddy, I whispered. Love you too, Dad. Upstairs, I heard Melissa on her phone. Couldn't make out the words, but I knew the tone. She was calling someone. Probably him. Probably crying about how unreasonable I was being. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Melissa moved into the guest room that night. Locked the door. Next morning at breakfast, she was on her phone. Didn't look up when I poured coffee. Didn't acknowledge Tommy asking for more juice. I've consulted an attorney, she said to the table. Not to me. To the salt and pepper shakers. We need to discuss irreconcilable differences. Tommy's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Not now, I said quiet. When, Ray? When you're ready. I'm done waiting for you to be ready. She left. Tommy stared at his cereal, not eating. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? I didn't know what to say. Didn't know if I had the right to make that promise or not. So I just pulled him close and said, whatever happens, you're safe. You're loved. That won't change. He nodded, but I felt him shaking. That afternoon, Tommy's teacher called. Mrs. Chen. Nice lady, came over from Taiwan 30 years back, worked 2 jobs to put herself through college. The kind of person who fights for her kids. Mr. Holloway, I need to talk to you about Tommy. My stomach dropped. Is he okay? Physically, yes. But Ray, may I call you Ray? He's not himself. His grades are slipping. He's withdrawn during recess. And yesterday he drew a picture that concerns me. What kind of picture? A house with very thick walls, and a figure he labeled the monster in Mommy's room. I closed my eyes. Jesus. Has something changed at home? Yeah, you could say that. I'm mandated to report if I suspect abuse. It's not— I stopped. Was it using your kid as an alibi? Making him keep secrets? Putting that weight on a 7-year-old's shoulders? Mrs. Chen, his mother and I are separating. It's been hard on him. I see. Her voice softened. Ray, I grew up in a home with secrets. Big, heavy secrets that no child should carry. Tommy needs stability right now. He needs to know at least one parent is solid ground. I'm trying. I know you are. That's why I'm calling you, not her. After we hung up, I sat in my truck in the driveway for 20 minutes, trying to breathe right. Trying not to see Tommy's drawing in my mind, the monster in Mommy's room. I went looking for those refinancing papers, the ones we'd signed 8 months back to take out a home equity line, $50,000. Melissa said it was going into a high-yield savings account for Tommy's college. Found the folder in the filing cabinet. My signature looked right, but I didn't remember signing. Couldn't remember the day, the moment, the pen in my hand. The notary date was March 15th. March 15th was the day of my mother's funeral. I was in Ohio, 3 states away. I had the plane ticket to prove it. My hands started shaking again. I drove to the book club location. The address Melissa had mentioned a dozen times. Tuesday nights, she said, every Tuesday. It was a community center, lights off, parking lot empty. I sat there until a woman came out of the building next door, gave me a concerned look. I rolled down my window. "Ma'am, do they have book club here on Tuesdays?" She shook her head. "Book club's on Thursdays." "And they haven't met in 2 months. Organizer had surgery." "Thank you," I managed. She walked away, looking back once like she wanted to say something else. Maybe she recognized me. Maybe she'd heard the rumors already. Small towns are like that. Your business becomes everybody's business before you even know you have business. I drove to Derek's gym, one of those modern places with floor-to-ceiling windows so you can see all the young bodies working out, feel bad about yourself from the parking lot. He was inside, surrounded by guys half my age, all muscles and tribal tattoos and protein shakes. I walked in. The girl at the desk tried to stop me. "Sir, do you have a membership?" But I kept walking. Derek saw me coming, grinned, came over with that swagger, that confidence. "Chief, didn't expect to see you here. Looking to get in shape?" He looked me up and down, made it obvious. Never too late to start, am I right? The guys around him snickered. "Stay away from my wife," I said. "Your wife?" He shrugged, all innocent. "Don't know what you're talking about, man. But hey, no offense, but when's the last time you could really satisfy a woman? Melissa needs a real man." More laughter. One of them, kid with a man bun and a CrossFit shirt, said something about old-timer that made the others crack up. I stood there, 62 years old, electrician's hands scarred from 30 years of work, gray hair, bad knee from a roofing job in '98. When did I become a joke? I walked out without another word, sat in my truck, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Wanted to go back in, wanted to grab that smug bastard by his throat but what would that solve? Old man attacks young stud. Everyone sides with youth. Ray Holloway, bitter and violent, can't handle his wife moving on. That's the story they'd tell. So I drove home. Except when I got there, I couldn't make myself go inside. Couldn't face the guest room door. Locked. Couldn't face Tommy's worried eyes. Couldn't face the walls I built with my own hands that didn't feel like mine anymore. I drove to the Walmart on the edge of town, parked under the fluorescent lights in the back corner where the overnight truckers sleep. 2 in the morning, I was still there. Engine off, heat fading, frost forming on the windshield. Country music bleeding faint from someone's car 3 rows over. Gas station coffee gone cold in the cup holder, tasting like regret. My phone buzzed. Text from Hank, my neighbor. "You okay? Truck's not in the driveway." I didn't answer. Another text. "Coffee's on. Come by in the morning. Hank Morrison. 70 years old, widower, retired postal worker. Lost his wife to cancer 10 years back. We'd been neighbors for 15 years, never talked about much more than weather and football, but he'd noticed my truck was gone." I put my head back against the seat, closed my eyes, and tried not to think about how I'd built my whole life on sand. Sunday morning, I walked across the dewy grass to Hank's fence line. He was already there, 2 mugs of black coffee steaming in the cool air. "No sugar, no cream," he said, handing me one. "The way men drink it." I took it, grateful. We stood there watching cardinals flit between the trees, neither of us talking. That's the thing about Hank. He doesn't fill silence with noise. Finally, "Your wife's been having company during work hours." I looked at him. He kept his eyes on the birds. "How long have you known?" "Few months. Wasn't sure if I should say something. Wasn't sure if maybe you knew and were handling it your own way." He sipped his coffee. "But then I saw your truck gone at 2 a.m. and I figured maybe you could use a friend." My throat went tight. "Yeah. Come on over. Got something to show you." I followed him into his house. Place smelled like coffee and Old Spice and loneliness. He led me to the kitchen table, pulled out an old tackle box, green metal, dented, covered in faded fishing stickers. My daughter Jenny got divorced 5 years back, Hank said, opening it. Husband was cheating. She never saw it coming, and it broke something in her. She don't talk to me much anymore. Moved to Arizona, sends a Christmas card if I'm lucky. Inside the tackle box wasn't fishing gear. It was a journal, pages of dates, times, license plates, photographs taken with a long lens, that silver Lexus in my driveway, Derek Cole walking out my front door, Melissa kissing him goodbye on my porch. I couldn't help Jenny, Hank said quiet. Didn't notice the signs, didn't know how to protect her. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna watch you lose your boy the way I lost my girl. I picked up the journal with shaking hands, flipped through pages. 3 months of documentation. Times when I was at work. Days of the week. Even notes about what they wore, how long Derek stayed. Hank, I don't... My voice broke. Thank you. That's what neighbors do. He refilled my coffee. Now, what are you gonna do about it? Before I could answer, there was a knock at the front door. Hank raised an eyebrow. You expecting someone? We both walked to the door. On the porch stood my brother Mike. Hadn't seen him in 5 years, not since Mom's funeral, when he accused me drunk and grieving of manipulating her will, called me a greedy bastard in front of everybody. He looked different, thinner, clear-eyed, holding Mom's old Bible and what looked like a poker chip. Ray, his voice cracked. Can we talk? Every instinct said slam the door. But something in his face, something raw and desperate and sorry, made me step aside. We sat in Hank's living room, the three of us. Mike turned that chip over and over in his hands. It was blue, had 2 years stamped on it. Sobriety chip, he said. Been clean since 6 months after Mom died. Been wanting to apologize to you for near 2 years now, but I was too ashamed. He looked up at me. You were right about the will. Mom wanted you to have the farmhouse. I was drunk and angry and looking for someone to blame for her being gone. I'm sorry, Ray. I'm so damn sorry. I didn't trust myself to speak. I heard through the grapevine you're having trouble with Melissa. He set the chip down. I've been working as a paralegal. It's not much, but I know how these things go. And I figure, his voice caught. I figure maybe I can help. Maybe I can be the brother I should have been 5 years ago. Hank cleared his throat. I'm gonna make more coffee. He left us alone. Mike and I sat there in that small living room, 5 years of silence between us. Why now? I finally asked. Because you're my brother. Because I wasted 5 years being angry when I should have been grateful I still had family. Because, he wiped his eyes. Because I heard that bastard Derek at the grocery store bragging to his buddies about the old guy whose wife he's screwing. And I wanted to kill him, Ray. Wanted to put him through a wall. But I'm sober now. I handle things different. He leaned forward. Let me help you. Please. I don't know if I can trust you. I know, but I'm asking anyway. Hank came back with the coffee pot, poured 3 cups, sat down with a grunt. Your brother's right, Hank said. This ain't something you can handle alone, not with what I've been seeing. He tapped the tackle box. There's more than just affair evidence in here. What do you mean? Hank opened to a section near the back. Bank statements, printouts, numbers highlighted in yellow. My daughter works for a forensic accountant, Hank said. I had her look at some things, public records, mostly. That home equity line you took out? For Tommy's college fund? It didn't go where your wife said it went. He slid the papers across. It went into a joint account, Melissa Holloway and Derek Cole. The room tilted. How much? My voice didn't sound like mine. Mike looked at the papers, did the math. His face went pale. $47,000. $47,000. Tommy's college fund. His future, gone. That notary date, Mike said, pointing. March 15th. That was Mom's funeral. I was in Ohio. Exactly. Mike's jaw tightened. Ray, she forged your signature. This isn't just adultery. This is fraud. Embezzlement. This is a felony. We sat there, the three of us, while that sank in. My wife hadn't just betrayed me. She'd been planning to rob me, planning to take Tommy's future and give it to a 35-year-old gym rat with a bumper sticker about lifting. What do? I asked. Hank and Mike looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. "You fight," Hank said, "and you don't fight fair, not anymore." Mike nodded. "I know a forensic accountant. She's good, she's thorough, and she hates cheaters." He pulled out his phone. "Let me make some calls." I sat there holding my coffee, feeling something shift inside me, something cold and hard and determined. For weeks I'd been drowning, gaslit, humiliated, told I was paranoid, controlling, too old, too boring, not enough. But I wasn't crazy. I had proof. I had allies. I had my brother back after 5 years of silence. And I had a son who needed me to be stronger than I'd ever been. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." Mike grabbed my shoulder. "We're gonna get your boy back, Ray, and your dignity. I promise you that." Hank raised his coffee cup. "To brotherhood." We clinked our mugs together, three men who'd all lost something, all been broken by betrayal in different ways, coming together to fight back. My phone buzzed. Text from Melissa. "We need to finalize arrangements. My lawyer will be in touch." I showed it to Mike. He smiled. Cold. "Oh, she thinks she's ahead. She thinks she's got this figured out." He started typing on his phone. "Let her think that. For now." "What are you doing?" "Getting ahead of her." He looked up. "Ray, before this is over, she's gonna regret ever underestimating you." Dorothy Chen wasn't what I expected. 70 years old if she was a day, grandmother glasses on a beaded chain, cardigan with embroidered flowers. Looked like she should be serving tea and cookies, not hunting financial criminals. She brought cookies anyway. Chocolate chip, homemade. "Sugar helps when you're looking at bad news," she said, spreading files across my dining room table. The table I'd built from oak 10 years back. "And Mr. Holloway, this is very bad news." Mike sat beside me. Hank stood by the window, arms crossed, keeping watch like he expected Melissa to come bursting in. Dorothy put on her reading glasses. "Home equity line of credit. $50,000. Opened 14 months ago." She slid a paper toward me. "Recognize this signature?" It looked like mine. Same R with the little loop. Same way the H connected to the rest of Holloway. "I don't remember signing this." "You didn't." She pulled out another document. "This is your mother's death certificate. She passed March 14th. Funeral was March 15th in Columbus, Ohio." Another paper. "This is your plane ticket. You flew out March 13th, returned March 17th. She tapped the loan document. "This was notarized March 15th at 2 p.m. in Millbrook, Indiana." "I was at my mother's burial." "Yes, you were." Dorothy's eyes were hard behind those grandmother glasses. "Which means someone else signed your name. And that someone had access to your signature, your social security number, and enough confidence to commit federal fraud." My hands curled into fists on the table. "Where did the money go?" Mike asked. Dorothy flipped to another page. "Account number 4472, joint holders, Melissa Holloway and Derek Cole." The room went silent except for the tick of the grandfather clock in the corner. My mother's clock, the one she left me in the will Mike said I'd manipulated. "Current balance," Dorothy continued, "is $3,100, meaning they spent $46,900 in 14 months. On what?" She spread out more papers. Bank statements, credit card bills, receipts, gym equipment, high-end restaurant meals, hotels, a lot of hotels, cash withdrawals, a boat. She looked up. "Did you know Mr. Cole owned a boat?" "No." "He does now. 19-foot ski boat, bought 9 months ago. Guess who made the down payment?" I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. "There's more," Dorothy said, not unkindly. "Mr. Cole's gym is failing. He owes $30,000 on equipment loans, behind on rent. The business account shows your wife made several deposits. She was funding his failing gym with Tommy's college money." "It appears so, yes." Mike slammed his hand on the table. "We've got her. Forged signature, embezzlement, fraud across state lines." "Hold on." Dorothy raised a hand. "It's not that simple. She could claim Mr. Holloway gave her permission verbally, could say he knew about the account. It becomes he said, she said, unless we can prove intent." "How do we prove intent?" Dorothy smiled. Grandmother smile, but with steel underneath. by watching what she does next. Desperate people make mistakes. And she was right. 2 days later, my lawyer Jim called. Ray, Melissa's filed a motion claiming you forced her to sign over financial control. Says you were emotionally abusive. That you manipulated a younger woman, isolated her from friends, controlled all the money. That's a lie. I know it's a lie. Question is, can we prove it? He paused. She's going on offense, trying to paint you as the bad guy before we can paint her. I thought about that. About Derek in my bathrobe, smirking. About Melissa's words, you weren't supposed to be home. About Tommy's drawing, the monster in Mommy's room. Jim, I need to take Tommy to a counselor. Get it on record what this has done to him. Good. Do it. Document everything. I took Tommy to Dr. Sarah Mitchell the next afternoon. Child psychologist came recommended by Mrs. Chen. Tommy didn't want to go. Am I in trouble? But I promised him ice cream after. Dr. Mitchell had a room full of toys and art supplies. She talked to Tommy while I sat in the waiting room, trying not to imagine what my 7-year-old was saying. An hour later, she called me in. Tommy was in the corner building with blocks, humming to himself. Mr. Holloway, Dr. Mitchell's voice was gentle but firm. Your son is carrying significant anxiety. He's been placed in the position of keeping adult secrets, which is a form of emotional abuse. The word hit me like a fist. He drew these. She showed me pictures. Houses with thick walls and tiny windows. A figure labeled Dad standing outside. A figure labeled me inside with bars over the door. Another figure, just a shadow, labeled the monster. Who's the monster, Tommy? I heard myself ask. Tommy looked up. The man in Mommy's room. He's loud. He laughs mean. Dr. Mitchell met my eyes. I'm going to recommend primary custody to you with supervised visitation for the mother until she completes counseling. This child needs stability. That night, I sat on the porch with Mike and Hank. Tommy was inside sleeping. First full night's sleep in weeks. Dr. Mitchell had given him some relaxation techniques. We're building a case, Mike said. Financial fraud, forged documents, child psychological harm. Dorothy's ready to testify. Dr. Mitchell's ready to testify. Mrs. Chen from school will testify. What about Derek? I asked. Hank smiled. Funny you should ask. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. Got a tip today. Seems Derek's been running a side scam at the gym, taking money from clients for personal training packages, never delivering. There's at least 6 people ready to file complaints. He's a con man, Mike said, all the way through, and when con men get cornered, they turn on each other. Hank finished. I looked at my brother. You think he'll flip on Melissa? I think when he realizes he's looking at fraud charges plus embezzlement, he's gonna sing like a canary to save his own skin. Mike leaned back. Men like Derek, they're all tough until the handcuffs come out. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Derek's been embezzling from gym clients too. Check account number 7734. I showed it to the others. Someone on the inside, Hank said. Someone who wants him to go down. Dorothy called back within the hour. I traced that account. It's a separate business account Derek controlled. Deposits from 12 different clients, none of the services rendered. We're talking another 20,000 in fraud. Who sent the tip? I don't know. But Mr. Holloway. Her voice got serious. This changes things. If Derek's facing multiple fraud charges, he'll deal. And the only thing he has to trade is testimony against your wife. I sat there on my porch, the one I'd built with my own hands, and felt the pieces falling into place. Melissa thought she was ahead, thought she had me beat. Old man, easy mark, too decent to fight back. She'd forgotten something, though. Decent men don't start fights. But when you threaten their children, when you steal their son's future, when you make them feel small in their own house, decent men finish them. Set up the meeting, I said. I want everyone there. Melissa, Derek, both lawyers, Dorothy, in this house, at this table. Mike grinned. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I looked at my brother. It's time to end this. The deposition was scheduled for Thursday. Melissa had to answer questions under oath, and her lawyer was scrambling to delay it. Judge denied the motion. Mike spent 2 days coaching me. Stay calm, don't rise to bait, let the evidence speak. Wednesday night, someone knocked on my door. 9 o'clock, Tommy already asleep upstairs. I opened it to find Derek Cole standing on my porch, looking over his shoulder like he expected someone to jump out of the bushes, sweating even though it was barely 60 degrees. Chief, Ray, we need to talk. Get off my property. Just hear me out. He held up his hands. This thing, it's gotten out of control. Lawyers, depositions, all this legal stuff. What if we handled it between us, man to man? I leaned against the doorframe. Didn't invite him in. What are you proposing? I could give some money back. Not all of it, I don't have all of it, but some. And we forget this whole thing. No lawyers, no cops. Clean slate. Clean slate. Yeah. He tried a smile. Didn't reach his eyes. Look, Melissa said you wouldn't fight. Said you were too... He caught himself. Too what? Too weak? Too old? Too much of a doormat? His face went red. I didn't say that. But she did. I stepped closer. He stepped back. Tell me something, Derek. When you were wearing my bathrobe, the one my son gave me for Father's Day, did you think about him? Did you think about the 7-year-old boy downstairs who'd have to grow up knowing his mother brought strange men into his house? It wasn't like that. When you were spending his college money on your boat and your failing gym and your hotel rooms, did you think about his future? About the opportunities you were stealing? Ray, get off my property. Each word came out cold and hard. You stole from my son. You violated my home. And now you're afraid because you finally figured out I'm not going to just roll over and let you get away with it. Derek backed down the porch steps. You're making a mistake. Melissa's going to bury you in court. She's got friends. She's got sympathy. She's got nothing but lies. And lies don't stand up to bank statements. I started to close the door, then stopped. Derek, when they ask you under oath about that other account, the one where you took money from your gym clients, you remember this. Melissa won't go down for you. The second it gets hard, she'll throw you under the bus to save herself, just like you're here right now trying to throw her under the bus to save yourself. His face went white. How did you... I shut the door. Through the window, I watched him practically run to his car. The Lexus was dirty now. Hadn't been washed in weeks. The bumper sticker, Live Laugh Lift, was peeling at the corner. My phone rang. Hank. Saw him leave. He tried to make a deal? Yep. He's scared. Good. Hank paused. Got something else for you. Mrs. Patterson came by today. Mrs. Patterson. Church gossip. The woman who'd called me with concern a few weeks back, fishing for information. What did she want? To apologize. Said she's been talking to the other ladies, and they all know Melissa's been lying about you. Said she saw Derek's car at your house during work hours at least a dozen times. She wants to testify. I sat down on the couch. Mrs. Patterson wants to testify? Her words, I may be a gossip, but I know right from wrong, and what that woman did to Ray Holloway is wrong. Hank chuckled. Even gossips have standards when kids are involved. Thursday morning, I took Tommy to school. Mrs. Chen met us at the door. How's he doing? She asked quiet. Better, sleeping through the night, drawing happier pictures. She squeezed my arm. You're doing the right thing, fighting for him. Sometimes I'm not sure. I am. She looked at Tommy running to join his friends. I grew up in a house full of secrets and lies. My mother stayed because she thought it was better for us kids. It wasn't. We needed her to be strong enough to leave. Her eyes met mine. Your son will remember this. Not the divorce, not the ugliness. He'll remember that his father stood up for him when it mattered. Those words carried me through the rest of the day. That evening, Mike came over with updates. Dorothy's ready, Doctor. Mitchell's ready, Mrs. Chen's ready. We've got bank records, forged documents, witness testimony. Melissa's lawyer knows we have her dead to rights. Then why do I feel like this isn't over? Because it's not. Mike sat down across from me. She's got one more card to play. She knows she's losing, so she's going to get desperate. And desperate people do unpredictable things. He was right. Friday afternoon, registered mail arrived. Melissa had filed a new motion. I opened it with Mike looking over my shoulder. Elder abuse? I read out loud. She's claiming I'm 62 and she's 42, that I manipulated and controlled her because of the age difference, that I isolated her from friends and family. Mike read further, his jaw tightening. She's saying you used your age and her inexperience to coerce her into marriage, that you were the one with all the power in the relationship. This is insane. This is desperation. Mike looked up. Ray, this is actually good for us. How is this good? Because she's overplaying her hand. Look, she's 20 years younger than you, but she's 42, not 22. She's a grown woman who made choices, and her choice was to forge your signature, steal $50,000, and have an affair with a con man. He smiled. Her lawyer probably told her not to file this. She did it anyway. That tells me she's panicking. My phone rang. Jim, my lawyer. Ray, did you see? I saw. It's garbage. Complete garbage. But I gotta warn you. In some cases, judges are sympathetic to younger wives married to older men. There's precedent for… Jim, I cut him off. Do we have the evidence or not? We have it, but… Then we proceed. No backing down, no settling. We take this all the way. Silence on the line. Then, all right, meeting's Monday, 10 a.m. Your house, like you requested. I'll be ready. After I hung up, Mike put a hand on my shoulder. You sure about this? Once we do this, there's no going back. This gets ugly, public, permanent. I thought about Tommy, about his bedwetting, about his drawings, about the way he flinched when Melissa raised her voice. I thought about Dr. Mitchell's words. This child needs stability. I thought about 23 years of marriage reduced to lies and theft, and a man in my bathrobe smirking at me in my own bedroom. I'm sure. Mike nodded. Then let's finish this. That night, I couldn't sleep. Walked downstairs at 2 a.m., made coffee, sat at the kitchen table in the dark. The house was quiet. Tommy sleeping upstairs, safe. Mike in the garage apartment, probably reading legal briefs. Hank's porch light on across the way, always watching. Monday, it would all come to a head. Everything I'd been carrying, the humiliation, the betrayal, the rage, the hurt, would finally have a reckoning. I was 62 years old, built this house with my own hands, raised a son, buried a wife and a mother, and done everything right, everything decent, everything by the book. And it had gotten me a forged signature and a stolen future and a wife who thought I was too weak to fight back. She was about to learn different. The coffee was bitter, but I drank it anyway, watched the sun come up through the kitchen window, first light painting the walls sage green. 3 more days. Monday morning I put on my church shirt, the blue one I wear maybe 3 times a year, weddings, funerals, Easter, stood in front of the mirror, 62 years old, staring back, gray hair, lines around the eyes, electrician's hands, scarred and thick from 30 years of work, but standing straight, clear-eyed, ready. Tommy was at school. Mike had taken him, would pick him up after. Keep him away from this. By 9:30 they started arriving. Jim came first, briefcase and a nod. Dorothy next, cookies in hand because of course she brought cookies. Hank slipped in through the back, took up position by the kitchen where he could see everything. Mike set up the dining room table. Spread out the documents, organized by category, bank statements, forged signatures, Dr. Mitchell's report, Mrs. Chen's statement, photos from Hank's tackle box, evidence, cold and undeniable. Melissa arrived at 9:55 with her lawyer. Young guy, maybe 35, expensive suit, slicked back hair, the kind who thinks law school makes him smarter than everyone else. She looked good, hair and makeup perfect, dressed like she was going to church. Modest dress, small cross necklace, the outfit of a woman being wronged, not a woman who'd stolen $50,000. She wouldn't look at me. Derek showed up 10 minutes late. Didn't want to come, you could see it in every line of his body. kept glancing at the door like he was planning his escape route. We all sat, my table, my house, my terms. Melissa's lawyer started first. My client is here in good faith to try to resolve this amicably. Your client forged my signature, I said, calm, steady. That's a serious accusation. Dorothy. I nodded to her. She stood, pulled out the first document. Home equity loan. Notarized March 15th at 2 p.m. She laid it on the table. Ray Holloway's signature. Next document. Ray Holloway's mother's death certificate. March 14th. Another. Plane ticket. Ray Holloway departed Indianapolis March 13th, returned March 17th. She looked at Melissa's lawyer. He was at his mother's funeral in Columbus, Ohio when this document was supposedly signed. We have witnesses who can place him there. We have photos from the service. The lawyer's face changed. He turned to Melissa. Did you know about this? She didn't answer. Dorothy kept going. Account 4472. Joint holders, Melissa Holloway and Derek Cole. Deposits totaling $50,000 from the home equity line. She spread out bank statements, highlighted and tabbed. Withdrawals, gym equipment, hotels, restaurants, cash, a boat, current balance, $3,100. The room was silent except for papers rustling. $46,900, Dorothy continued. Gone in 14 months. Mr. Holloway believed this money was in a high-yield savings account for his son's college education. Melissa's lawyer was reading fast, his face getting redder. Melissa, why wasn't I told about? There's more, Mike said. He pulled out another set of documents. Account 7734, business account controlled by Derek Cole. Deposits from 12 gym clients for personal training packages never delivered, $20,000 in fraud. Derek shot up from his chair. That wasn't, Melissa made me do it. Sit down, his lawyer snapped. She said her husband was loaded. She said we'd take him for everything and start over. Derek was sweating, panicking. She planned the whole thing, the affair, the money, all of it. I was just... Shut up, Melissa hissed. I'm not going to prison for you. Derek turned to me, desperate. She used me, man. She said you were old and stupid and wouldn't fight back. She said, Mr. Cole, stop talking. His lawyer had his head in his hands, but Derek couldn't stop. The dam had broken. She forged your signature. I saw her practice it. She had samples of your handwriting, and she practiced for weeks. Melissa stood, shaking. You coward. You absolute coward. Better a coward than a felon, Derek shot back. The room erupted. Lawyers talking over each other, Derek and Melissa screaming, papers scattering. I sat quiet, watching it all fall apart. Watching two people who'd stolen from my son, violated my home, tried to destroy my life, watching them turn on each other like rats in a trap. Finally, I stood. Everyone went quiet. Enough. My voice cut through the chaos. Not loud. Didn't need to be loud. I looked at Melissa, 23 years of marriage, 2 decades of my life. The woman I'd held when she was scared, provided for, tried to love the best I knew how. You used our son, I said. Steady, clear. You made him keep secrets. You gave him nightmares. You stole his college money. Ray, please. Her voice broke. Tears starting. The performance. No. I looked at Derek. You're a coward and a thief. You thought you could take from an old man who wouldn't fight back. I turned to Jim. What are the terms? Jim opened his folder. Full custody to Mr. Holloway. The house stays in his name. Melissa gets her personal belongings and her car. No alimony. Restitution of $47,000 on a payment plan. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. Full restitution, now. Or we press criminal charges. Federal fraud. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. I looked at Melissa. You have money somewhere. Your mother's account maybe. That emergency fund you never told me about. You find it. You pay it back. Every cent. Melissa's lawyer leaned over, whispered to her. Her face crumbled. I don't have that much liquid. Then you borrow it. You sell things. You figure it out. I leaned forward. Or Dorothy here files criminal complaints with the FBI. Federal offense, Melissa, interstate fraud. That's 10 years minimum. Her lawyer whispered again, longer this time. She was crying now, real tears, the kind that come when you finally realize you've lost. Derek pays his share too, Mike added. His half of what was stolen, plus restitution to his gym clients. We have their statements. They're ready to press charges. Derek's lawyer. My client doesn't have his boat, Hank said from the kitchen. Sells for about 20,000. That's a start. They went back and forth, lawyers negotiating, Melissa crying, Derek trying to argue until his lawyer told him to shut up or face jail time. 30 minutes later, papers were drawn up. Melissa would pay $30,000, most of it borrowed from her mother, the rest from selling her jewelry and her car getting downgraded. Derek would sell the boat and pay $17,000, work off the rest. Full custody to me. The house stayed mine. Melissa got supervised visitation until she completed court-ordered counseling. They signed in silence. Melissa's hand shook on the pen. She looked up at me one last time. Ray, I never meant. Yes, you did. I met her eyes. You meant every bit of it. You just didn't think you'd get caught. She stood, gathered her purse. Her lawyer led her out. She didn't look back. Derek was next. Practically ran out the door, his lawyer chasing after. The door closed. The house went quiet. Dorothy started packing up files. That's that then. Jim shook my hand. You did good, Ray. They left, Dorothy with her cookies, Jim with his briefcase. Hank squeezed my shoulder on his way out, didn't say anything, didn't need to. Mike started gathering papers. I'm proud of you, brother. Then we were alone. Me and Mike, standing in my dining room. 23 years of marriage reduced to signatures on paper spread across a table I'd built with my own hands. I should have felt victorious, should have felt satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. You okay? Mike asked. I walked to the window, looked out at the yard, the swing set I'd built for Tommy when he was 3. The garden Melissa had planted 2 springs ago, now overgrown. The fence line where Hank and I drank coffee. I won, I said. So why doesn't it feel like winning? Because you lost something too. Mike came to stand beside me. You lost the idea of who you thought she was, the marriage you thought you had. That's worth grieving, even when you know it wasn't real. I nodded, couldn't speak. But Ray, you saved Tommy. You stood up when it mattered. You got your dignity back. He put a hand on my shoulder. That's not nothing. That's everything. From the window, I saw Tommy and Mike's car pull up. School was out early, half day. Tommy got out, saw my truck, ran for the door. Dad! I turned as he burst in, backpack bouncing. Dad, I got an A on my spelling test. I scooped him up, held him tight. 7 years old, smelling like school lunch and playground dirt and innocence. That's my boy. I'm so proud of you. He hugged my neck. Is the meeting over? Is everything okay now? I looked at Mike over Tommy's shoulder. My brother nodded. Yeah, buddy. Everything's okay now. And maybe it wasn't completely true. Maybe there were still hard days ahead, explaining things to Tommy, dealing with supervised visits, rebuilding. But standing there holding my son, my brother in the room, my house still my own, maybe it was true enough. That evening, after Mike left and the house was quiet, I had to tell Tommy. We sat on his bed, his dinosaur blanket bunched up between us. He was building a Lego spaceship, humming to himself. Happy, safe. I hated to break that. Buddy, we need to talk about Mommy. His hand stopped, didn't look up. Is she coming back? Not to live here, no. I took a breath. Mommy and I, we're not going to be married anymore. He was quiet for a long time. Then, because of the secrets? Because sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt people, but Tommy? I lifted his chin so he'd look at me. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. You understand? Will I still see Mommy? Yes, she loves you. She can't live here anymore. His eyes filled with tears. Did I make her leave? Because I told about last night? No. I pulled him close. No, son. And you were brave to tell the truth? The bravest thing in the world is telling the truth when you're scared. I'm proud of you. He cried then. Real sobs, the kind that shake a little body. I held him and let him cry, stroked his hair, whispered that it would be okay, that I wasn't going anywhere, that he was safe. Eventually, the tears stopped. He wiped his nose on his sleeve. Dad, are you sad? Yeah, buddy, I'm sad too. Can we be sad together? I smiled through my own tears. Yeah, we can be sad together. We sat like that until he fell asleep. I tucked him in, kissed his forehead, left the nightlight on. Downstairs, I sat on the porch in the dark. Heard Mike's light click on in the garage apartment. Saw Hank's porch light across the way. Not alone, never alone again. 2 days later, Melissa came to pack her things. I took Tommy to Hank's house so he wouldn't have to watch. When we came back, her key was on the kitchen counter. No note. Just the key and empty spaces where her things had been. I walked through the house. Our wedding photo, gone from the mantel. Her books, gone from the shelves. Closet half empty. Bathroom counter cleared of her lotions and perfumes. The house felt lighter, emptier, yes, but lighter too. I took the wedding photo from where she'd left it on the guest room bed, put it in a box for Tommy. Someday, when he was older, he could decide what to do with it, but he should have it. Should know there were good times once, even if they were built on sand. A week later, news spread through town. Derek's gym had a foreclosure notice on the door. Small-town grapevine said he'd skipped town, left owing money to dozens of people. I felt nothing. Derek Cole was already irrelevant, just a footnote in a hard chapter, fading to nothing. Mike moved into the garage apartment officially. Brought his few possessions, clothes, books, Mom's Bible, his sobriety chip displayed on the windowsill where the morning light hit it. I helped him set up. Small fridge, hot plate, fold-out couch, desk by the window. This okay? He asked, looking around at the cramped space. Stay as long as you want. I met his eyes. Your family, Mike. This is your home. He hugged me then. First time in 10 years we'd hugged. Felt like something breaking loose in my chest. Grief and forgiveness and brotherhood all mixed together. I'm sorry, he whispered, for all those years, for the things I said. I know, me too. Tommy loved having Uncle Mike around. They did homework together at the kitchen table. Mike taught him chess, patient, gentle, explaining strategy like it was the most important thing in the world. Sometimes I'd watch them from the doorway and feel grateful. Grateful Mike got sober. Grateful he came back. Grateful Tommy had another man in his life showing him what steady looks like. First weekend of supervised visitation came. Melissa picked Tommy up at a neutral location, the library parking lot, a court-appointed supervisor present. I was anxious the whole time, called twice. Melissa answered, annoyed but civil. When Tommy came back Sunday evening, he was quiet. How was it? I asked, careful. Okay, Mommy's apartment is small. She cried a lot. My heart hurt for him, for her even. She's sad too, buddy. I know. He looked up at me. But Dad, I like it better here, with you and Uncle Mike and Mr. Hank. Yeah. Yeah, it feels safe. Safe. That word, that's what we'd given him. Not perfect, not painless, but safe. Mrs. Patterson came by with a casserole, actually stayed for coffee this time, apologized for the gossip. I may be a nosy old woman, she said, but I know right from wrong. What Melissa did to you wasn't right. Whole church knows it now. Thank you, ma'am. She patted my hand. You're a good man, Ray Holloway. Don't let anyone tell you different. At the hardware store, young Travis met me at the counter, looked embarrassed. Mr. Holloway, I wanted to apologize for what I said before about your wife. That was out of line. Apology accepted. You need anything, sir? Anything at all, you just ask. It's on the house. Small town redemption. The court of public opinion had shifted. Melissa was the villain now, and I was, what, the victim? The hero? I didn't feel like either, just a man trying to rebuild. Mrs. Chen stopped me at school pickup. Tommy's doing so much better. His grades are back up. He's participating in class. And Ray? She smiled. He drew a picture yesterday. Want to see? She showed me on her phone. A house with big windows and an open door. 3 stick figures labeled Dad, Uncle Mike, and me. A sun overhead. A dog in the yard. We don't have a dog, but Tommy's been asking. No walls, no monsters, just a family. He's going to be okay, Mrs. Chen said. Yeah, I managed through the tightness in my throat. Yeah, he is. Saturdays, Hank taught Tommy to fish. I'd watch from the shore. Old man and young boy, poles in the water, talking about nothing and everything. One Saturday, Tommy caught his first bass, screamed with joy so loud the birds scattered. Hank showed him how to reel it in, how to hold it, how to release it back. Did you see, Dad? Did you see? I saw, buddy. I'm so proud. He ran over, threw his arms around me, smelling like lake water and sunscreen and happiness. Hank caught my eye, nodded. Some things don't need words. Sundays, Mike and I started working on Mom's farmhouse. Needed a new roof, new plumbing, foundation work. We decided to fix it up, rent it out, put the money in a trust for Tommy. While we worked, we talked. About Mom. About childhood. About our own mistakes and regrets. I wasted 5 years being angry, Mike said, pulling up old carpet. I wasted 23 being blind. We're here now, though. He looked at me. That's what counts. One evening, we were on the porch, me, Mike, and Hank. Tommy inside doing homework. Just sitting, drinking coffee, watching the sun go down. You did good, Ray, Hank said. Real good. Couldn't have done it without you both. That's what family does, Mike said. That's what neighbors do. We sat in comfortable silence. 3 men who'd all been broken in different ways. All lost something. Hank, his daughter's closeness. Mike, his sobriety and brotherhood. Me, my marriage and illusions. But we'd found each other. Built something new from the wreckage. That night, I couldn't sleep. Walked downstairs at 2 a.m. like I used to. But this time it wasn't despair keeping me awake. Just restlessness. The feeling of something shifting, changing, growing. Made coffee. Sat at the kitchen table in the dark. Thought about Melissa, about Derek, about all of it. And I realized I didn't hate them, didn't wish them harm. Just wanted them gone from my life, from Tommy's life, like smoke clearing. The anger had burned itself out, left behind something quieter. Not forgiveness exactly, but release. The kind that comes when you stop carrying something heavy and your shoulders finally remember what it's like to be straight. Through the window, I could see lights. Mike's apartment. He was up late, probably reading. Hank's porch light, always on. Tommy's nightlight, soft glow from his window. My family. Different than I'd planned. Smaller in some ways, bigger in others. But mine? Real. The coffee was bitter, but I drank it anyway. Watched the sun come up, painting the kitchen sage green. 3 months had passed since the confrontation. 3 months since I'd reclaimed my dignity, my house, my son. And I was starting to believe, really believe, that we were going to be okay. 3 months later, Sunday morning, I made pancakes again. Blueberries popping on the griddle, maple syrup warming in the pot, morning sun through the lace curtains, dust motes dancing, but different now. Everything different. Mike's boots on the porch from where he'd come over early. Hank's coffee cup in the sink from yesterday's visit. Tommy at the table but not hiding anymore. Building a Lego house. Not a fort with walls, but a house with big windows and an open front door. Uncle Mike, Tommy called toward the back door. Pancakes are almost ready. Mike came in from the garage apartment, hair still wet from the shower. Need help? Set the table? He grabbed plates from the cabinet, knew where everything was now. Lived here 3 months, but it felt like he'd always been here. Like the 5 years of silence had been the aberration, not this. Tommy hummed while he built. Same tune from his cartoon, but lighter now. No tension in his shoulders, no fear in his eyes. I flipped the last pancake, turned off the burner. Breakfast is served. We sat together, 3 of us. Tommy told a story about school. His friend Jacob's birthday party next weekend. Could he go? Mike asked about the math homework, offered to help after breakfast. I just listened, fork halfway to my mouth, realizing this was it. This was what healing looked like. Not dramatic, not perfect, just a Sunday morning, pancakes, and easy conversation. Dad? Tommy looked at me. Can Uncle Mike come to the birthday party too? Jacob's dad is going to teach us to throw a football. Mike glanced at me, uncertain. If Uncle Mike wants to, I said. I'd love to, buddy. Tommy grinned, went back to his pancakes, syrup on his chin, talking with his mouth full, 7 years old and finally just a kid again. After breakfast, a knock at the door. Hank, right on time for second coffee. We all moved to the porch. Me, Mike, Hank. Tommy played in the yard with his Legos, building some kind of spaceship, narrating an elaborate story to himself. Looks good out here, Hank said, nodding at Tommy. He's doing real good, sleeping through the night. No more bad dreams. What about you? Hank looked at me over his coffee. You sleeping? Yeah. I realized it was true. Yeah, I am. We sat in comfortable silence. The porch swing squeaked. Still hadn't fixed it, decided I liked the sound. Reminded me that some things don't need fixing, just accepting. Movement next door caught my eye. The house on the other side from Hank, been empty 6 months. U-Haul in the driveway. New neighbors moving in. Should we go help? Mike asked. Neighborly thing to do. We walked over. Woman about 40 maybe, unloading boxes with a teenage daughter, both looking tired, overwhelmed by the work ahead. Morning, I called. Welcome to the neighborhood. Need a hand? She looked up, surprised, kind smile, tired eyes. Oh, that would be wonderful, thank you. Her name was Sarah. High school teacher, new job in town. Fresh start after a divorce, she said, careful, like testing if she could trust us with that information. Good place for fresh starts, I said, lifting a heavy box. Lots of good people here. We spent an hour helping, me, Mike, Hank, carrying furniture, setting up beds, making small talk. Sarah's daughter Emma was 16, quiet, polite. Tommy brought them some of his Legos to play with while the adults worked, which made Sarah laugh. When we were done, Sarah brought out lemonade. You're very kind, all of you. That's what neighbors do, Hank said. She met my eyes for a moment. Something there, not a spark exactly, but recognition. 2 people who'd been through hard things come out the other side, still standing. I wasn't ready yet. Might not be for a while. But someday. If you need anything, I said, we're right here. Thank you, Ray. She smiled. I appreciate that. Walking back across the yard, Mike nudged me. She's nice. Don't start. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying. But I was smiling. That evening, I tucked Tommy in. Same routine, dinosaur blanket, bedtime story, kiss on the forehead. But he wasn't scared anymore. Didn't need me to leave the nightlight extra bright. Didn't need to check the closet for monsters. Dad? Yeah, buddy? Are you happy? I thought about that. About everything we'd lost. Melissa, the marriage, the life I thought we had. About everything we'd gained. Mike back, Hank's friendship, Tommy's healing, our dignity. About sitting on the porch this morning watching my son play, my brother drink coffee, my neighbor keep watch. About new neighbors with kind smiles. About mornings that felt possible again. Yeah, I said. Yeah, I am. Me too. He yawned, already half asleep. Love you, Dad. Love you too, son. I left his door cracked, walked downstairs. Mike was in the garage apartment, light on, probably reading, Hank's porch light glowing across the way like always. I stood on my porch in the cooling evening, coffee cup in hand, looking at the stars. 62 years old, divorced, starting over. But I had my house, my son, my brother, my neighbor, my dignity. I'd lost a wife, but kept my integrity. Lost a marriage, but found the truth. Lost my illusions, but gained something real. Tommy's light stayed on. Nightlight, not fear, just comfort. Mike's window glowed warm. Hank's porch light stood sentry. Across the way, Sarah's house had lights on too. New family, new start, new possibilities. The screen door creaked behind me. Still hadn't oiled it, still liked the sound. Tomorrow, Tommy had school. Mike had a legal case he was working. Hank had a doctor's appointment I'd offered to drive him to. I had electrical work lined up at the church, rewiring the fellowship hall, Simple things, good things, real things. I took a sip of coffee, let it warm me from the inside. Down the street, the church bells started ringing, evening service getting out, sound drifted clear and sweet across the neighborhood. I thought about my grandfather's words. A good man's the easiest mark. Maybe he was right. Maybe being decent made you vulnerable. Maybe being kind opened you up to hurt. But standing here on my porch, my son safe inside, my brother nearby, my neighbor watching over us, I'd choose being a good man every time. Not because it was easy, because it was right, because it was who I wanted to be when Tommy looked at me. Because dignity isn't something someone gives you, it's something you claim by how you live, how you fight, how you stand back up. The coffee cooled in my hands, stars wheeled overhead, a dog barked somewhere, car drove past, radio playing country music. Ordinary night, ordinary life. And that was enough. That was everything. Inside, I heard Tommy laugh at something in his sleep. That sound, pure, unafraid, happy, was worth every hard moment, every painful choice, every tear. We were going to be okay, better than okay. We were going to be good. Contemplative ending. Found 300 words. You know what nobody tells you about betrayal? It's not the dramatic moments that break you. It's the quiet ones. The syrup dripping on the floor while your world cracks open. The coffee gone cold at 2 a.m. in a Walmart parking lot. The way your own bedroom stops feeling like yours. But here's what else nobody tells you. You're stronger than you think. Especially when you've got no choice but to be. I spent 23 years trying to keep the peace. Thought that made me a good man, avoiding conflict, giving people the benefit of the doubt, turning the other cheek. Turned out, it just made me an easy mark. Took losing everything to learn that sometimes love means fighting. Sometimes protecting your kid means standing up instead of standing down. Sometimes dignity isn't about being nice, it's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone tell you different. I'm 62. Built a house with these hands, raised a son, buried people I loved, started over more times than I planned. And you know what? Starting over doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it means you finally got smart enough to stop accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole damn meal. Tommy's sleeping sound tonight, Mike's reading in the garage apartment, Hank's light is on across the way. Simple things, but simple things are everything when you almost lost them. My grandfather used to say, a good man's the easiest mark. Maybe so. But a good man who learns to fight back? That's something different. That's someone who can look his son in the eye and show him what it means to stand up when it matters. The screen door creaks. Coffee's cooling in my hand. Stars are out. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm making pancakes again. Because that's what you do. You get up, you keep going. You love your people. You protect what matters. You don't let the bastards win.